Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go Toronto, go. Go Argos, go, go, go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 11 of the Argo Bounce live audio show here on this Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. And I'm looking forward to tonight's show. I'm going to bring on my co-host, Nick Small, and we're going to break down the Argos win over the Tiger Cats to go to a franchise best 12-1 in their 150-year history. They've had a lot of great teams, championship teams that have never been 12-1, and we're going to talk about that, and also their 150th anniversary week coming up next week, and with a home game against the Edmonton Elks, and also preview the Grey Cup rematch against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Only time they play Winnipeg this year in the regular season at Winnipeg. So I really think the Argos should have played Winnipeg twice. But looking forward to that matchup as well. And I'm going to bring on my co-host for episode 11 of the Argo Bounce live audio show, my co-host, Nick Small. Good evening, Nick. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. Doing great today. We've got a very exciting schedule today. Busy, lots of things to talk about. It's been a really exciting stretch of football lately, and the Argos capped it off with a convincing win against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, even without some of their best running backs playing. No Andrew Harris, no AJ Oled, and they still managed to beat Hamilton rather handily. 29-14. So I don't think it turned out the way a lot of us expected the way the game would have went. And now the Argos continue to get to reap the benefits because we get to see Chad Kelly probably resting this Friday against the Blue Bombers. We get to see what Cam Dukes gets to do it, knowing he's number one behind center. It's really exciting, and I'm looking.
I'm assuming it's going to be Duke's number one, obviously. Scott will be the number two, and they'll have Kelly dressed as the number 3 quarterback in case of an injury situation.
Yeah, that's how I think it's going to go. If there's something really specific they want to test with Kelly, they might. But part of the thing too is if you're probably not putting your best offensive line out as well. Like you kind of wonder someone like Isaiah Cage who got hurt the week before. Guys like that, you kind of wonder. Shane Richards, if they've been on the aisle and potentially could come back, you probably don't want them coming in to risk getting re-injured. So you might see what they do with rest Nicastro or Hunter and have Giffen and McKellar in, or maybe rest Sirocco and have Nicastro slide over to center. So, but you won't be having that same kind of top O-line. So you don't want to have someone like Chad Kelly playing behind the second or third string O-line, especially against a Winnipeg team that has a lot to play for, because right now they're tied with BC for first. And if they don't win this game, it's a huge setback, especially that they've lost. Probably should have won against Hamilton, Saskatchewan earlier this year.
Well, look at the CFL standings. You got your 3 dominant teams: Toronto 12-1, Winnipeg 10-4, BC 10-4, and then you got 6 teams that are pretty well under 500. Hamilton and Saskatchewan 6-8, Ottawa and Calgary 4-10, and Edmonton 4-11. But unfortunately, there's going to be 2 teams that don't make the playoffs, and I think Ottawa will be one out of the East. And in the West, I guess I really think the Elks are playing better football right now than the Stampeders. I for some reason I think Edmonton can get in there if they can just win their. I think they've got what 3 games left. If they can win their last 3 games, I think they could get in 7-11. I know I'm being optimistic, but I just like the way they're competing right now.
Yeah, I think the Riders play the Elks once more, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I have to double check everything, but yeah, it doesn't look like it. My bad. But yeah, for Edmonton or Calgary, it probably takes a huge surge, and Saskatchewan probably tanking out for either of them to make it in, and yeah, it would probably take a miracle for the Red Blacks to get in at this point. So I think what we'll probably see is the Rough Riders playing on the road against in the West semis between BC and Winnipeg, or sorry. Yeah, BC and Winnipeg, and then on the East, it's probably going to be Hamilton and Montreal going through to face us most likely. I don't, but yeah, there still is that slim possibility of a crossover. Where I got into this poll today. If anybody had seen my post this morning on Twitter hyping up our show tonight, I posted a poll question asking which 6 and 8 team are concerned with into coming into the stretch here and into the playoffs. Is it Hamilton at 6 and 8, or is it Saskatchewan at 6 and 8, the Rough Riders? What do you think, Chris?
You know what? I don't know. That's Nick. It's really tough. Ottawa. I'm not being disrespectful. I don't think they're going to make it. I don't think Calgary's going to make it. I think Saskatchewan can finish with a better record than Hamilton. I really do. But I do think Hamilton has a good chance of beating Calgary Saturday night at Tim Hortons Field. But we shall see. To be honest, yeah. Saskatchewan, I don't feel they're a 6 and 8 club. I thought Saskatchewan would be at least 500 this year. So I still think they can be, but we'll see what happens. But I guess who's got the bye week this week? I believe Edmonton's got the bye week.
Yeah, I think Saskatchewan's next bye is at the very end of the season. They don't play the final week, and then as the bye the week before. So so the last 2 weeks, week 21 and week 20, Hamilton's is the week 20 bye, and Saskatchewan's the week 21. So effectively their season ends a week earlier than everybody else. So they get an extra week of rest before the potential playoffs, assuming they make it. But yeah, kind of the reason why I pose this question is because they do come into it on very opposite ends of the spectrum. Came into it with some really huge wins, including one against Winnipeg at home, and then went to Toronto and played with huge intensity and fire, knowing that Montreal had just beat Calgary. They need to stay at pace with them if they want to host the East semifinals, and then they just came up absolutely flat against Toronto in this game. It was like as soon as the first 2 scoring plays for Toronto, the drive down the field for the field goal to open the game, and then the interception, the pick 6 by Winnie McManus. It just was like there was never any doubt after that. And I guess maybe the third play was that callback on the kick return on the hold that would have negated a return that would have brought them to like the Argos 30-yard line. It got called a hold, so it drew them back to like their own 15 or 10. Like those 3 plays kind of single-handedly just deflated Hamilton, and they never really seemed into it. There wasn't the same kind of like aggression after the plays or between the whistles that we're used to seeing them feisty. The Hamilton just kind of let Toronto roll right over them, which was really weird. And then kind of going on Saskatchewan, they've kind of had the opposite. They had that big Labor Day win against Winnipeg, and then only to get thumped in Winnipeg 51-6, and they've lost 2 other crucial games, including one against Edmonton, and then this one recently against in Ottawa. So they're both kind of, I think, you can make cases for either one of them, and they both were in a major disadvantage because they both lost their quarterbacks for the year coming in, with Bo Levi Mitchell and Trevor Harris being out. I think, on paper, I think Saskatchewan has the better potential to turn it around if you just objectively look at which team's roster is better. But Hamilton is seemingly, they're in a pace where they can ride better momentum going in. Are fairly similar. They do play each other once in these next couple games, these last 3 games each. So there's cases to be made for either side. But I think the problem with Hamilton, though, is how do you go into Toronto in the East Final, assuming you get there? How do you go into that game thinking you can beat the Argonauts when you couldn't even come close to their secondary roster? So,
but to be fair, they did force 3 turnovers. Kelly threw 2 interceptions. They weren't costly, and Javon Lake had his 4th fumble of the year. That's my only concern about the Argonauts heading into the playoffs is turnovers, because when you turn the ball over generally 3 or more times in a football game, you generally lose. So turnovers do happen, fumbles do happen, but that's the thing about the CFL playoffs. On any given playoff game, anyone can win, and it only takes a fumble or an interception to do that. So I think that's the one thing Ryan Dinwiddie should be focusing on before getting to the playoffs is try to play as much clean football as you can and eliminate the mistakes.
yeah, I mean, it didn't really concern me too much. The second interception Chad threw to, that was a short pass to Tavares Daniels. Like, Chad knew out of his hands he underthrew it, so I'm not too worried about that one. The first one, yeah, I was kind of like, who was he even trying to throw it to there? That one had me a little bit concerned. But and yeah, the league turnover, I mean, he still has more touchdowns on kick returns than he has turnovers, the other one being the game in Calgary. So I'm not too worried about it for now. Yeah, the thing that was, but that was also the thing, though. Their defense stepped up and cut down the Hamilton offense that seemed to be on the field for the entire second half. It seemed like even the Argos, like when Chad did have the ball and didn't throw INTs, they were just going 2 and out, and it was like, ho hum, just punt the ball, and the defense like completely read Hamilton like a book, and they didn't run any crazy defensive plays either. They had a couple blitzes early on. There was a couple of really huge sacks early in the game by Thomas Costigan. Shout out to him. He had a fantastic game.
Yes.
And then but then after that, it was like they just ran really basic cover 3s, cover 2s, and Powell never really seemed to be able to. He did find, I will say this, he did find Smith, Keandre Smith, who's the son of Adrian Pee Wee Smith, who was at the game as an alumni for the Argos. He had a really good game, so I got to give a shout out to him as well. But like other than that, finding him a couple times through the middle, they didn't really, which was kind of concerning from my perspective. I would have thought that there would be a little bit more desperation and intensity, but it just kind of wasn't ever really there.
One thing, Nick, I wanted to ask you. Obviously, they got some guys banged up, but what are their thoughts on Maurice Cornell and Enoch? I know they've been out all year with serious injuries, but if they want them into the playoffs, they've got to get them in the lineup for at least one game, because it's hard to miss the entire season and then just come in for a playoff game. So I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with Cornell and Enoch Manumba before the playoffs, if they're going to get into a game and get some playing action.
Yeah, Cardinals, I'm a little more concerned with the nature of his injury being kind of a more serious thing, that's a concern with his health more. The Enoch one, I wonder if some of it has to do with the cap right now, managing numbers. That's what's the CFL. You don't really get to see the numbers behind the cap as much as you do with like the NHL with cap friendly, for instance. But I'm not particularly worried about them coming back from injury, especially Enoch Mwamba, because I mean, who was it in I don't know how much hockey you watch, but there was the one guy from Tampa Bay last year, Stamkos, maybe, for Tampa Bay Lightning, who missed basically the entire season. And it was no, I think it was Kucherov. But anyways, whoever it was, he missed basically the entire season. And in part of it was being a cap move, because they would have been over the cap with him rested, and he was out the whole season. Playoffs, all bets are off, no need to worry about the cap. He comes in and they win their second Stanley Cup back to back. I'm not particularly worried about guys like that who particularly need the lengthy rest to be at 100%. But but there is potential that he could come in, because you could see Wyndham McManus resting. You could see a Darius Pickett resting in the linebacker position. And and you could see maybe between Williams and Jones, maybe one of those two resting as well, because I know Williams was on the IR for a bit as well. So there will probably be some opportunities cap wise if that is a reason why. And I'm just speculating at this point, but there is that potential then for Mwama to come in. I think in terms of the injury list, the one guy you absolutely will not see play this week is Jamal Peters, because he got banged up pretty bad, and I think if there's any concern, you need him to rest because you're running really thin on the secondary now.
What are your thoughts about the critics saying get rid of the East, get rid of the West, and this game against Winnipeg would have meant more than divisions? Do you think it would be better just to have the CFL as 9-team league instead of 4 in the East and 5 in the West? And that way, this game against Winnipeg would be basically the battle for that first playoff spot. Do you think the CFL should look at doing that, eliminating the divisions, and also maybe giving the number 1 seed a bye? Obviously, the only bye going to their finals. What do you think of that, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of it. I think it creates more problems than it solves. I don't think reward cup is the right solution, and I don't know how you really make it fair at that point, because like if you then arrange it like 1v4, 2v3 to the Grey Cup. Yeah, I don't know. I like the way it is. I think it'll be, especially if you can get that team in the East in Halifax out there. I think it gives you a bit more rounded opportunities with the crossover and things like that. And I just think overall it's a better solution than messing with what we've had going for us. And this isn't the first time we've heard it. We've now, so I don't see why change something that isn't broken. If we're gonna fix something that's broken, let's fix the stat tracking system or things that are a bit more of an immediate concern than how we set our playoffs when we've been running this playoff format for forever.
Yeah, you know what? But sometimes change is good too, and I really think they should. I think they really should look into it. I don't know. I really think sometimes you get set in your ways, and I think they really should look into it. But you make some good points too, Nick. What I wanted to ask you now, Nick, since we got you on here, I'm fingers crossed our guest will come on. But in case he doesn't, we'll just keep going on. What was your overall assessment of the game plan by Ryan Dinwiddie and the coaching staff against Hamilton, and your thoughts on sitting out AJ Ouellette? Andrew Harris is on the 5-game or 6-game list. How serious is Harris's injury?
Yeah, I don't know the seriousness of Harris's injury. I think with resting Harris, I think it's just because, like, you know, where he is at the stage in his career, he's not dealing with any health issues or anything. I don't think anything too serious, but he did have a pretty bad, I think it was a knee hit that he took. So you don't want to really do too much to aggravate it anymore, because like knees can get banged up pretty bad. Like you look as a good example, again, another hockey comparison. That I expect him to be back for this week, but I think it's absolutely the right approach. You pick certain guys in certain games to rest, and I think resting Kelly on a road game against Winnipeg, the potential Grey Cup final, like, because it's probably going to be at this point, unless Toronto really has a rough East final, it's looking like it'll probably be Toronto, Winnipeg, or Toronto, BC. So yeah, you absolutely hide your cards. You don't do anything crazy in this game against Winnipeg. I don't care if you get thumped 40-0. You hopefully run plays to suit Duke's style of play. And yeah, and in terms of the Hamilton game, I thought it was ran right. I really like the idea of giving Deontay McMahon a lot of plays for a different look, especially as him as like a speedster guy. I think I'm glad they put Attaboy in more later for some of the more power running and kind of the outside options, the swing passes, things like that. And yeah, you just kind of, once they had that big lead, you were just kind of really running your bread and butter plays. And that's why we were punting a lot. Like we were just trying to run short hitches, screens, like just really basic plays to just focus on the blocking schemes for them. And yeah, it didn't look great on paper. They punted a lot, but that's all you need to do at that point. So I was a fan of the way they handle that game, and I like the way they're handling this. Ouellette rest last week. They're giving Kelly a rest this week. And to be honest, in terms of like fan support, yeah, it's disappointing for the Winnipeg crowd, but we need the crowd more in our place than they do in Winnipeg. I'm completely fine with resting Kelly on a road game, given the circumstances as well. Again, like I said, playoff circumstances potentially against Winnipeg this game, and have him play in the really important, significant for the club 150th anniversary game against Winnipeg, and then rest him again when they play in Saskatchewan. Like, have those.
Do you
Go
think
ahead.
Kelly? Do you think Kelly will play the entire game against Edmonton, or maybe just the first half of that game?
Yeah, that's a game I could see away, especially because like the opposite problem, the gap is so big against Edmonton, it's basically insurmountable. I think you're still going to play Kelly, and in that case, you'll probably bring the big O line. I think the difference in this game is that it's the big anniversary game, and you don't really want to put up a stinker on such a big milestone game. So and especially because this is probably going to be one of the best attended games with the list of guys and who are going to attend, like, out, and you look at some, there's probably going to be more, but Ricky Ray, Comrade Holloway, Damon Allen, Rocket Ismail, Mookie Mitchell, Terry Greer, Doug Flutie, Carl Brazeley, Rodney Harding, Chad Owens, Joe Barnes, Pinball Clemens, like to sign things. Like, that's an incredible list. You know, guys like Bob Bronk and probably Andre Dury will be there, and Noel Pierrefontaine is probably going to be there too. And like you can name dozens of players who have played for the team throughout the years that are going to be at this. Like, this is the big marquee event, and yeah, you want to at least put a half decent fight in this, which is what going to be well attended. So and it's going to push these ticket sales in a market where it's really struggled for it. So yeah, I really, the 30,000 fans in Winnipeg are disappointed at, because we earned it. If they're going to cry about it, then they should have. I know that not be the target because this is their first game against each other, but then other teams like BC or Saskatchewan or whoever should have played better games against us. It's not our fault that we get to reap the benefits of being the best team in the league all year. So,
well, out of the 9 teams, there's only really 3 dominant teams or consistent dominant teams, and then the other teams are all under 500. So to me, you're right, it's going to either be Toronto Winnipeg or Toronto BC, unless there's a major upset in the East final. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But Nick, I wanted to ask you this question now. Who are some players that stood out against Hamilton? And what's your thoughts on the young kid running back? They were calling him Mini Pinball on TSN, McMahon. I thought he was solid in his 12 carries for 43 yards.
Yeah, I think I briefly talked. I'll talk my top 3. I'll just bring them out now, and we can maybe. Yeah, for me, it was, I like seeing Deontay McMahon. He'd be one of them. Thomas Costigan, who I mentioned before, was a guy I thought had a monster game, especially in the early part. He put so much pressure on Powell early on, and I know, like, in my live tweets, I called him out there, and later on, I saw he actually gave me a like on that, so that's pretty cool. So shout out to you, Thomas, if you're listening, and thank you, and congrats on such a big game. And then, yeah, Winton McManus kind of has to be the other obvious one. He I think led in tackles this game. He had the 2 interceptions, one for a pick 6. Like, he was everywhere, and he is most nights. Him and Pickett just seemed to tear everybody up. But yeah, they were easily my top 3. I thought they all had fantastic games, and I was quite impressed by Deontay McMahon. Clearly power, size, and really neither was Pinball when you really think about it. But what it really, and like I said before, what really helped in this game is it gave them that different look on the running game. Yeah, you didn't have Harris and Ouellette, who are 2 of the best power runners and power blockers in the league, then completely changed the offense up, and you did a lot of these kind of swing type plays to the outside, and it really opened the field up for Kelly, which allowed him, when he needed to and wanted to give test passes to a guy like Reggie Johnson, who started his first game at slot back, but then also led to like the Coxie touchdown, or led to some other passes to Brissett or Benilde or whoever else was there.
Absolutely, and I think it's great giving some of these guys, some other guys, some playing time as well. And I'm going to lead to our next question. Actually, a couple of the players, I would say, Wynton McManus. I think he had his best game of the year. He almost had 2 pick sixes. I thought he was good. Costigan was good too, and that defensive front four has been outstanding. And I don't think they get enough credit. The O line is getting their credit, but I think the D line is probably the best in the CFL right now.
Yeah, and imagine just how much better it'll be if Jared Brinkman comes in. I think he was another guy mentioned that who could potentially come back. I don't expect him this week just because it's kind of a weird game because you know that they're going to be really rabid fans in Winnipeg out for revenge because of us winning the Grey Cup. But so I don't think you play anyone who's on that kind of fence of like he's can play but he's not going to be 100%. I think this is one of the games where I would rest anybody who is kind of on the fence. But yeah, Brinkman will probably come back before the end of the year and he'll definitely see at least one game. And then, this D-line has been fantastic. Oakman's a threat every play he's on. Flo Remilade, Robbie Smith, Thomas Costigan with the outside snaps, Deontay Knight, Dwayne Hendricks, Benoit Marion, and Brandon Barlow, they've all been fantastic. And this is where a little bit more on the secondary side. But offense or on the sort of pressure side, they've been tearing up any O-line, and this will be their biggest test, I think, because Winnipeg is probably the best O-line in the league, other than Toronto's. So you're gonna have probably the biggest challenge. So it's gonna be really. I don't know what they're gonna run. They might run a couple linebacker blitzes or fake it to kind of get that 5-man look at times, but I don't think they're gonna run any like really crazy stunts or anything too outside the box.
I'm just concerned Winnipeg's going to try to run up the score. The coaching staff still wants the team to, obviously they want to play to win the game, obviously, but you also want to be smart about it as well. So I just want to see the team be competitive with who they have in the lineup. If they happen to win, that's great. But I just want to see a competitive game and just see how some of these other guys handle some playing time, and especially Cameron too, because you have to find out if he can play or not long term. Obviously, they signed him as a free agent, and you got to give him a shot, and everybody's got to do their job. So, like I said, as a fan of the team and media, I just want to see them be competitive with who they have in the lineup. And if you get a win, great. If you lose, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, the thing I think with this Winnipeg team is we know they're not afraid to throw the ball down the field. And that was the thing that really hurt Toronto, kind of in both games against Calgary, but especially in the second game that they kind of just barely won at home against Calgary. They did not cover the deep ball very well at all. And Zach Collaros is probably one of the best, right now is the best deep ball thrower in the CFL. I'd probably rank him above Chad in that. So I think that's where the big test coming out of this game more than anything is that I want to see Dukes at least have one of these sort of bend but don't break quarterback stats, like when we see how other quarterbacks against Toronto play where they outthrow in yardage but they throw a lot to the check down and they get like 300 some odd yards passing but only like 1 or 2 TDs. If I see that out of Cam Dukes and no interceptions, I'm okay with that. And then defensively, I don't really want to see more than a couple really big plays. If it's yards after catch, I don't really care too much about that, but I don't want to see any 30-yard bombs or anything like more than that, like busts in coverage. That's where I want to see the secondary really hold fast, especially if they get into if they end up playing less on like a cover 3 and 4. Like they usually do a cover 4 or a cover 3 and they leave the in front open. So give up those, but come quick to the coverage. I think that was one of the things where the new guy, Harry, who came in.
Yes.
Yeah, Jamie Harry, I think it was 38. He kind of struggled with that a little bit. I noticed on a couple plays that in the Hamilton game, he's playing about 5 yards back off the receiver, which you can tell is kind of inexperienced. He needs to play a little bit tighter than that, but he's still you're doing what the philosophy is. You're just kind of giving up short yardage, medium yardage, but no big breaks. But yeah, you can play a little tighter than that, and that's something that he's just got to learn. But you see, like Stiggers is playing more uptight, Mitchie is, McFadden is, even Mason Pierce is now, which is great to see. So
I wonder if Spencer Nichols will get in. They drafted him from the Western Mustangs, so I'm wondering if he'll get some playing time too.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm not 100%, but yeah, I guess we'll find out. So, um, yeah, anything can kind of happen right now. They're seemingly putting everybody in at this point, so you never know what's going to happen now. I mean, the Argos typically have not ran a fullback or like a tight end very much on a big set package. That's another thing that I find really weird with Hamilton. Like in these last couple games, they've ran a really heavy set offense with a lot of like fullback and tight end plays. The Argos don't really do that. And even like Calver, like it seemed in this game, like where McMahon would or like Olette would have blocked, they kind of had Calver in that fullback role. So that's what I kind of think we'll see if they do put Nichols in. So yeah, we'll find out.
Oh, here's some stats. Kelly was a tidy 17 for 26, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and obviously the 70-yard bomb, I believe, to Brissett. McMahon, 12 carries for 43 yards. Here's another receiver who doesn't get a lot of attention, but Dejon Brissett, 6 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. And McManus, 6 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a pick 6. But I thought Brissett had a really good game, and the depth on the Argos receiving core is just amazing. Everybody steps up every game. One game it's Coxie, one game it's Brissett. Gittins obviously is capable of having a big performance, and Unger. It's just there's so much depth on that Argos receiving core.
Yeah, no curl main wide receivers, and I've said it before. What I like about Brissett is he's got that vertical element to his game, and that seems like a thing that the Argonauts have kind of bought into. Like it was Breskus in the year before. They've always got somebody who's like a really tall, lanky guy. You can throw a ball, he still manages to seem to have the verticality to jump up and get it. I think the stat sheet was broken at one point where it said that the Smith guy had I think it said at one point he had like 5,000 yards receiving or something, like completely busted. So which I thought was kind of funny, but I'm going to continue poking fun at the stat sheet until they get it together, because if they're going to now tell fans that they can't keep the footballs because there's technology to make the stats haven't improved, then I'm going to cry foul until Genius Sports improves.
Nick, I've got a special guest coming on, and I'm going to bring him on right now. And I hope you like our guest tonight. Hello, Damon. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And yourself? Can you hear me very well?
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Damon Allen, 4-time Grey Cup champion, 3-time Grey Cup MVP, and CFL Hall of Famer, and all-time Argo. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's nice to be on your show, and I'm pretty sure what are you guys talking about tonight?
Hello.
Talking about the Argonauts, breaking down the game against the Cats, and previewing the game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Friday night, and the 150th celebration week next week, which we're both looking forward to going as season ticket holders.
Yeah, it's a very special game that's coming up, being the 150th anniversary. And so, yeah, there's a lot of memories and a lot of history. And to be able to, there's some unique things that are going on during the stadium. I'll be there on game day as well. So really looking forward to it.
I'm hoping to get a picture with you, Conrad Holloway, and Terry Greer, my 3 all-time favorite Argonauts. And Nick's been a lifetime Argo fan as well. And I think he started watching the team when you won a Grey Cup in 2004. Am I correct, Nick?
Yep, that's correct. It says that's kind of the year that got me into being a fan. I remember the first game going down and watching you guys beat the Tiger Cats rather handedly at the Sky Dome, and that was one of the most exciting experiences as a 6-7-year-old kid, and got me hooked for life. And for the legacy you've left on this team and across the league as a whole, the numbers you've put up, passing and rushing for so many different teams, it's incredible. And as a fan, I've got to thank you for all you've put throughout your career.
You definitely think that, and I do appreciate when fans, because you're in a unique situation sometimes. Um, there's fans that have seen you play but never met you, and so I try to be and have that kind of patience when, if someone who have watched me for a number of years but never met me, I want their experience to be just as good as them watching me play. So those things are very important, and it's all part of your legacy, who you are, how you play the game. And I wasn't the biggest guy, but I always felt toughness, played with courage, and I played with intelligence and skill. And I hope that I entertained, over the years. And so, those things are very important to me, especially when it comes to winning the championship.
You did. I mean, you finished with 11,920 yards rushing. A lot of great running backs or Hall of Famers never even got that. It's just that is amazing. Like, obviously, you had over 70,000 plus passing yards, but to have over 11,000 yards rushing, that's just a tremendous feat. And I don't think you'll ever see a quarterback like that, like yourself in the CFL again, who can do both excellent.
Well, there's guys over the years that I played with that had that kind of capability. I remember when Nealon Green was running around and throwing, and I think it has a lot to do with, these guys are known for runners, but I didn't start getting my due respect as a thrower until I broke the passing record at 72,000 yards, and they said, "Oh, he can pass now." So I just think that I try to encourage guys. That's what they have to bring to the stadium: their ability to run and throw. If they can do that, then that's what they have to bring every game. And so you can't be one-dimensional. To me, even to this day, I still believe the quarterback that can run and throw is the most dangerous player on the field, and we can see that and a little bit of snippets with Trey Ford, and seeing what he's doing and how much difficulty is when he is running and throwing, how difficult it is to control him. But at the same time, he's, as he gets older and as he matures and becomes a better passer and all those things, he'll start to dictate how defenses will protect him or how they want to attack him. And that's along those times, you can dictate how a defense is going to play you because you have the ability to run and throw. So I think it gives you all the information that you need to be able to, okay, I can dictate how they're going to attack me. So now I can be more in tune on what I need to do. Because, when a guy's, running around like he's doing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, you start to take spies out of your defense just to, follow him. And so it's just those kind of things when you start to put a spy on the quarterback, and then it eliminates what you can do defensively. Because now you're literally taking a guy out of coverage just for the quarterback, so he won't run around back there.
Long-term, Damon, is Trey Ford the franchise quarterback the Elks are looking for?
Well, I mean, you got to see what he's doing right now and compare to what they've looked like and what they've done over the last couple of years. So even last year, he played pretty well, being a quarterback, for the first time in his career, and now coming back and gaining a little bit more experience each week. I mean, the more and more he'll become comfortable, and that's an easy answer. So far, they're winning when he's playing. So
they've won 4 out of their last 6 games, and this franchise has been so great for so many years. And I think Chris Jones is the guy to get them back on ship. And it's just nice to see the team become more competitive and win some football games as well.
Agreed.
Well, they're a talented team and young, and those times, when you're a young team and you have a lot of talent, and what is it the difference between a team like Toronto who's experienced and they've been through and they continue to add experience to their team, and that's why they're so good because you can tell the way they play and the way other teams play. You can feel and see them play it like they've been there before, and so there are teams that are veterans like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, um, and then you have teams like they're young and talented and they got to go through the fire, and sometimes they have to go through a very difficult and challenging time of losing multiple games, but they're gaining experience. And I think the addition of Trey getting back in there and doing his thing, he's bringing a little excitement back in that football team, and they have something to play for, right?
How hard is it for a young quarterback in their first year in the Canadian Football League? Do you feel it's better for them to sit on the bench for the year, or do you feel it's better to get their feet wet a little bit, Damon?
It's everybody's different. The good teams, they find a way to give a talented quarterback playing time. It was no different than when I came to the league in '85, and Jackie Parker was our head coach, and Matt Dunnigan was an all-star. His second, third year in the league, he was an all-star. But Jackie Parker told me that I was going to play every game, a couple of series. And I was a rookie. And so you can see the little time that I was getting game in and game out. And then when Dunnigan got hurt, it felt like I've been playing every single game. And so they're very comfortable and confident that I can, take over as a backup if Dunnigan got hurt or anything like that. And so I think it has a lot to do with how you handle the quarterback situation. And it's a long season for these starters, and then not many starters get the opportunity to play all 18 games. And me and Dunnigan, back then he was saying they're going to take both of us to win a championship. And so I just think you have to manage that position and also prepare your backup in a way, because if you do lose your starter, the backup has to have some playing time, some experience, and when he gets out there, he's not in a situation where this is his first time playing in 7-8 months or 6 months, or first time in the season, and there's been situations throughout my 23 years that I've seen that, and that has a lot to do with not getting the backup any reps, not even in practice and not even in game situation. I can say that in Montreal, it seemed that way. The backup never got any reps. When he did get reps was when, AC got hurt, and then, the backup didn't come up and play very well because of the situation, right? He didn't get no reps in practice. He didn't get no reps in game situation. And now you're going from not getting any reps to now you're playing in the backup in the Eastern Final.
It's pretty cool, pretty crazy and cool how history kind of repeats itself like that, especially in Grey Cup games, like where you came in for Matt Dunnigan. And then I remember in the 2004 Grey Cup, you came out for a couple plays. And then like just this past year in the last Grey Cup, Chad Kelly had that game of experience at the end of the year against Montreal and came in the Grey Cup again for McLeod Bethel Thompson and scored the game-winning touchdown. So it's just really crazy to think how much that really has had an impact and how sort of history repeats itself in that weird way.
It has an impact because the year that we won the Grey Cup in '86, I got opportunity to play quite a bit because that was my second year, and so there were times that Dunnigan got hurt, and then I had to come out of the from backup and then play the game. But like I said, I was playing ever since I was a rookie in the league, getting a couple of series here, every single game, no matter if we were winning or we were losing, I was still getting those 2 series and see what I can do. And then it also, if a starter is struggling, to give the backup a couple of series and let the backup look at the 2 series that he's playing and see the adjustments that need to be made also helps as well. And so I think it has a lot to do with, once again, about managing the quarterback situation and how do you prepare them all in the same time? How do you challenge them all to push each other to get better? And that's the only way you can do that is through a level of competition. So like I was saying, in the year in '87 when I played in the Grey Cup game, I started in 8 games that year.
That's a lot because Kelly last year I think only started one game when he got in that Grey Cup. So and you're still, Damon, to this day, you're still the last quarterback to defeat the Toronto Argonauts in a Grey Cup back in 1987. Jared Corrick hit that winning field goal. And hey, I gotta ask you, is Henry Gizmo Williams to this day still the greatest special teams returner you've ever seen?
Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close.
I totally agree with you. He was so dangerous.
He has more called back than the second guys in second place.
Wow. I got to ask you this since we got you on here too, Damon. What are your thoughts on Ryan Dinwiddie? I guess this week sitting Kelly out and getting the young quarterback Cameron Duke some playing time.
Well, I mean, I experienced it a little bit. Knowing that they've won the division. But what week is this, 17 or 18?
17, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm assuming that he's going to play in week 18. At least get some reps, because then you're going to be, off 4 weeks?
Well, they still got 5 regular season games left, and then they have the bye week, and then the East Final is November 11th, I believe, Nick, at 3:00 at BMO Field.
What do you mean they got 5 games left? If this week 17,
they've already had 3 bye weeks. They've had 3 bye weeks.
Okay.
3 bye weeks, yeah.
They have to run a gauntlet. They're in Winnipeg this Friday. They host Edmonton 50th, and then they still have 3 more games to play, hosting Ottawa, in Saskatchewan, and then so it's a pretty crazy gauntlet for them.
Well, I think one of the things they're doing, they're playing a little cat and mouse with Winnipeg a little bit, because there's a possibility they may be facing them, and they're not going to get any beat on Chad Kelly in this game, and maybe just to sit back and really watch them, scout them. In the same time, if they got 4 games left, I'm pretty sure that he's going to play leading up, because like I said, the year 2005, I didn't play for 3 weeks, and then we ended up playing in the Western Final, and I wanted to play week 18, at least get a couple of, not necessarily a couple of series, but a couple of quarters in, leading up to the Eastern Final. So sometimes it can throw off your rhythm. So I'm pretty sure that they're mindful of that, because it happened in 2005. But if he has, 4 games left, then I'm pretty sure that they're going to, try to control it to make sure that he's going into the playoffs with a little momentum as well.
Gotta ask you
that's the only thing I will be concerned with, if he's not playing and not getting leading up into the playoffs with a little rhythm and a little moxie, like the way he shows when he plays the game. And so, but I'm pretty sure they'll be all right.
Did you feel this team? Did you see this team starting 12-1? And did you see Chad Kelly as good a quarterback as he's been playing? I believe right now, Nick, he's the leading candidate for the MOP along with Zach Collaros.
Yeah, depending on who you ask. Yeah, I think they're the 1A and 1B.
Yeah, I felt even last year, they were a good football team last year, and I picked them to beat Winnipeg, because I thought the only team that could beat Winnipeg was the Argos, and they just played them tougher. And it was always somewhat of a close game when the Argos played Winnipeg. So I thought Argos was the only team that can beat Winnipeg last year. So it'd be great to be able to see a possible rematch, or like I said, the BC Lions are there in the West, and so Winnipeg has to deal with the BC Lions. But I'm not surprised, because now you have a quarterback that probably plays, has a different kind of energy that he brings to the game, plays with a little bit more moxie. And if they're bringing a veteran team back, then the potential of playing very well is and having a good year is possible. And we're seeing it right now.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, congratulations on being on All-Time Argo. What were your thoughts on being introduced this year alongside Daryl Mookie Mitchell? And how did you find out from the football team that you're going in on the All-Time Argo list?
From the Argos alumni, explained to me how the process went through, and it's a vote by the players. And so that's what I like the most, is it was voted by the players, even though I was there 5 years. And so that's how I found out. But those are, those are amazing honors to be able to be a part of. And you're always like, even though I had Hall of Fame numbers, I mean, still getting the phone call that you're going to be a Hall of Famer is still somewhat surprising. So whenever you get, other wall awards, whether you're going to be on the wall of another team that you play for, and those things, when they come, I mean, you're very thankful. It just shows a great appreciation for your ability to play the game and how you played the game, and the skill in which you played. And like I said, when I played with a lot of confidence and know-how, and I always felt I was the best player on the field when I played. So,
Nick, do you have a question for Damon?
Yeah, for kind of staying on topic with the all-time Argos list, I was kind of curious when you came into the league, coming from California, did you know a lot about the CFL? Because I noticed sometimes there's sort of the relationship with US. A lot of people don't really follow much of the CFL to the extent that they do in the NFL, and kind of see us as like a second tier league. What was your experience like when you were first coming into the CFL?
Well, it's interesting. I know that when I was at Cal State Fullerton, there was a scout there. My head coach, Gene Murphy at the time, wouldn't tell me who that scout was until my senior year. And then when he told me who he was, it was the Edmonton Eskimos. During that, my junior and senior year, I think the NFL has striked. And it might have been the year that my brother was rookie of the year, 81, 82 or something like that, that the NFL strike. Because they only
1982.
Played,
I remember it.
They only played 12, 13 games, something like that. And my brother had 14 touchdowns, and he ended up winning rookie of the year. But then they started showing CFL games
on NBC. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's when I reconnected with Warren Moon, because I followed his career at the University of Washington. And then when they started showing the Eskimos, and during that time, 81, 82, they were on their last, it was a Grey Cup.
82 was their fifth straight Grey Cup.
Right.
32-16 went over the Argos.
So then you started to, okay, that's Warren Moon. He's with the Edmonton Eskimos, not knowing that was the team that had my rights. And so when I came out of university, my senior year in 84, 85 was the rights of the Edmonton Eskimos. And by that time, I knew about Warren Moon going there for 4 or 5 years, or 5 years, and then going to the National Football League. And then you started to realize that some of the quarterbacks that you watched in college, they were also up there. Turner Gear, J.C. Watts, Comrade Holloway, all these guys that I've seen a little bit in college. And what it did, it really just gave me another avenue that I can go in that direction, because the direction I wanted to go, I wanted to play. Everybody wanted to play quarterback in the National Football League, but during that time for me, they were trying to switch my position in the NFL. And then when they were trying to switch my position, I knew I was going to go to Canada and play quarterback.
Well, we're glad you made the decision to come over to the CFL, and
Yes.
and I'm glad you've had a outstanding career with multiple teams, but especially with two of probably the most historic in Edmonton and in Toronto now. And I know we're really looking forward to meeting you in person on that game against Edmonton, and to commemorate that big anniversary. There's some pretty cool names there on that list, and we're really happy to have you on that all-time Argos list as well as one of them.
Yeah, appreciated, and I'm very thankful to be able to, when I came to Toronto, it was the latter part of my career. Pretty much, I was 39 going on 40 or something like that, and I always thought when I was coming there, it was like a match made in heaven. The oldest team in the history of the CFL was taking on the oldest quarterback in the league at the same time, and I thought it was a match made in heaven. So, and I knew when I came here, I wanted to win a Grey Cup for this organization, because prior to coming, I think they went to 3 Eastern Finals in a row, and
Yes,
didn't win. So,
and I think it was a 7-year gap. Yeah,
they thought I was the missing piece. So, I appreciate that.
Yeah, one moment I know I won't forget from your time here in Toronto was the year you broke that passing record, and they had the banner raising in the Sky Dome. I wonder whatever that banner, because that's one of the things I always remember looking at every time I was there. Even like when the Jays were playing, it was still hanging up there.
Yeah, well, I don't even know where that banner is. They should give it to me. Let the fans sign it.
Yeah, I should let you have it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
man, what were some of your favorite moments as a Toronto Argonauts quarterback in your 5 years in Toronto? Obviously, the Grey Cup probably be number one, and also when you were playing against the Argonauts as an opponent as well.
Some of my favorite memories, I mean, it's twofold, because I started my whole career playing in the CNE in '85, coming from Edmonton and playing Toronto down there where basically BMO Field is, right?
Yes,
the old stadium was. And so it's always funny when people say, man, it would have been nice to play in BMO. I said, no, I played in the field, was down in this position off the water.
not far.
Yeah, Expedition Stadium. So, but at the same time, to be able to play with this historical franchise and win a Grey Cup makes it really special. But I think the greatest moment is when, pinball being the first African American head coach, a man, or what they say, a man of color, to win a Grey Cup as a head coach. It was all during that one event. Grey Cup, one was MVP, and then pinball was the first one to ever do it, a man of color. So, that was probably the greatest moment, a combined moment. But all my Grey Cups are special, man, and so it's hard to put one over another. I think they all have their own story, and they're all unique. And they all have the uniqueness to be able to look at each season and see, like, man, what it took for us to win it all. And they're all different.
Do you remember that locker room speech he gave before that Grey Cup, the one that's always replaying?
No, I remember the speech the day before. The day before speech is when couple of we opened the floor to the players to be able to speak, and I was one of the players. I think Jordan Younger was another player that spoke to the team, and so the whole 2004. I mean, that whole playoff series was quite special. But yes, that was all part of the story and the family culture and atmosphere we wanted to bring. And we played together as a unit, as a team. And in that Grey Cup game, even though, I mean, everyone said we were underdogs, but, we felt we weren't.
Okay, Damon, do you have time for 2 more quick questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. This one I wanted to ask you as well, or Nick as well. But what are your thoughts on the 150th anniversary celebration week next week and being a part of it with the fans and the game on Friday, October 6th against the Edmonton Elks? What are you looking forward to most about that week and game?
Just being part of history, which is, if you ever played for the Argonauts franchise, you're part of history. You're part of the 150 years. It'll be interesting to see like how they unfold it all. But I know I will be in the stadium, with some of the legends that played and played well for this organization, and guys that I loved and guys I enjoy talking to. I mean, it's always great to see Kyle Rich back in town. And it's going to be great to see Ricky Ray because we competed against each other in the same time. We both won a Grey Cup in Toronto, and he won too. So it'd be great to see those guys. And, Terry Greer, I mean, like I was in the league when these guys were playing.
Greer's my all-time Argonaut, by the way. Him and Conrad Tralloway and Cedric Mentor and Carl Brazeley, Don Moan, Lance Chomick, Hank Alisic. Which guy from the Argonauts that you've never talked to are you looking forward to meeting for this 150th anniversary? And is there going to be a big group photo of you guys all together? Because that'd be great for the fans as well as you guys.
No, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know the schedule and how they're going to unfold it all, but I know I'm going to be there. I know a lot of alumni guys is going to be there who had a history with this organization. Pretty sure OB will be there. A lot of some of the coaches and whoever's part of the organization should be at the 150th celebration and memories of this franchise. I mean, because it goes way back, and like I said, it's the oldest franchise. One of the oldest franchises in the Canadian Football League, and it also has the most Grey Cups too.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully 19 comes. Nick, one last question for Damon.
To be honest, I don't really have one more to ask. I'm just hearing about just the excitement of having you and everybody else is just really making me look forward to having you be there and getting to share it. One thing I've always loved about the CFL is the connection that the fans have with the players. It's just something I think that a lot of other leagues don't have to the same extent, and we're really fortunate for it, and we're really looking forward to having you back again at BMO this week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to as well. And so it's going to be a great day. Looking forward to it, and I'm pretty sure the Argos are pretty tough at home, and they've been tough on the road, and so they're going to be all right. They're gearing up right now.
It'll be a great game.
This team? How good do you think this team is, Damon? Or I guess it'll come down to the playoffs overall.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, for this year, they're a really good football team. And that's really all you can say. You got to give them the credit, like to be able to bounce back and put themselves in a position to go to another Grey Cup. I mean, it just shows you the type of players they have on their team, the coaching, and the fan base that comes out, and whether it's 15,000 or 20,000 fans, I mean, they're committed to this organization. They come to the games, and these guys, they're going to play good football even if no one was in the stands. So that just shows their dedication and what they want to do and what they want to establish this year. And so they're going to be tough in the East for anybody to play.
as an athlete, how much is it important to an athlete to see stability with the coaching staff, management, and ownership? And it looks like the Argonauts, for the first time in a very long time, have that with ownership and coaching, and obviously Mike Pinball Clements.
Well, all those things are important, but I think one of the most important guys in your organization is your scouting department and bringing players in, because there's always a year in, a year out. Each year that passes, you're going to lose some good players and great players, and your job is to replace them, whether they're young or they're old. You got to give a lot of credit for what they've been able to do over the last 2 seasons of bringing players in and, getting the right fit for the organization so they can go on the field and compete. Yes, the other aspects are very important, but to me, I mean, if you ain't got a guy that can find talent, then, that's, and that's my opinion. I mean, like I said, it doesn't take away from the head coach, GM, or even the players, but the guy who can find the talent and put it all together. Now it's up to the coach to see what's the best fit for the organization, and then put the team together. And like I said, they're playing sound football on all 3 aspects. Defense, offense. I love the fact that they push the ball down the field offensively. They got a good special teams return game, and the defense does enough. And I'm pretty sure they want to do better and get better. And if they do get better, then man, it almost become unfair.
All right, last question I wanted to ask you. Can you tell us, our audience, what are you up to these days? And can you talk about your Damon Allen Football Academy? And where can our audience follow you on social media and your website as well?
As far as my academy, it's mobile. And so it's here in Canada when I come and take the time to spend some time here, but it's also in the United States too. So, training quarterbacks, and, any quarterback, whether you're in high school or professionally or in college, that wants to get better. I mean, they can come to D9 Quarterback Academy. On my social, it's in Damon Allen 9, Instagram and Twitter. I have some other accounts as well, but they're all attached to Damon Allen 9, that you can reach me on there and follow me. I love life, enjoy life, and continue to look at other opportunities and projects I'm involved in. And so I stay active, and I'm busy, and I stay in shape, so I can continue to teach and impact. And that's what I want to do. I want to leave a huge legacy for the next generation.
All right. Well, Damon, I want to, on behalf of Nick and myself, we want to say thank you so much for coming on our Argo Bounce live audio show. I really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to seeing you and the other guys, the all great team and all the alumni on Friday, October 6th. And I'm just hoping I can meet my idols, Holloway and Greer and yourself and even Doug Flutie. It's just, there's so much history with this team, and 150 years is just amazing.
Is Flutie going to be there?
Yes. Oh. I believe he was confirmed. Nick, am I correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. That was
Thanks, Damon.
I look forward to seeing Flutes too.
Hopefully he brings his Batmobile. He always posts pictures on Instagram of the Batmobile, and I said to him in a comment, bring it to BMO Field. I don't think you will.
Something else too. It's not only the Batmobile. I think he's seen something else in his garage.
Yes, I believe you're right, but it's
another. Hey, but I have to check on his Instagram to see what's the other vehicle. But I've seen him drive the Batmobile, but there's another one.
He's the boatmobile, Toronto Argonauts boatmobile.
Yes. I hope they bring back the helmet, the old traditional helmet.
We've talked about that. We want to see that too. That would be crazy.
Yeah, they should have that on the sideline, brother.
I don't think TFC will appreciate us tearing up the field even more, though, but we'll see.
Well, they camera guys that has a little what's called. He can be on the sidelines.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. But again, hey, Damon, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And again, I was going to ask you this before we left. I guess you went in the golf tournament for the Pinball Foundation? That was a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
How did you do in that?
We did good. I mean, I can play a little bit. So it was a great day. Great time too. Listening to the stories and the interviews, and this Pinball's first tournament. I think he'd done one before, but it's been the first tournament in a while. We just had a great time at Woodington Lakes. And what did we shoot? Our team might have been like 11, 12 under, something like that.
Nice.
All right. Well, I should try golf sometime. I haven't done it since 1994, so it's been almost 30 years.
And it ain't.
Yeah. Yes, but anyways, Damon, we're going to let you go. But again, thank you so much for coming on the Argo Bounce Live audio show, and continued success. And we look forward to seeing you down at BMO Field on Friday, October 6th.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys soon. All right.
Take care, Damon.
Thanks, Damon.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Nick, thoughts on our guest tonight?
Yeah, pretty impressive. Surprised me with one of my heroes and one of the guys who got me into football. I actually have one little story. I didn't want to share it while he was here, but there was one time where they were doing the Argos training camp in like the late 2000s. It was over at UTM, the University of Toronto Mississauga campus, and back then I was playing in the MFL, and we had a scrimmage day there. Like we practiced a couple of weeks before to have a little scrimmage showcasing us, and like before the Argos went out and played, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that. But later on, after we had finished and got changed and whatever, everybody was like going up to the current players and getting their autographs and stuff. And my dad gives me a little nudge, and it's like, who's that over there standing in a stuff, just kind of in like a jogger shirt, kind of like what he was wearing right now. And the dad encouraged me to go up and say hello and ask for his autograph. And Damon's always been a person with such grace and class, and to talk to him in person like this and have here was a really, really cool surprise and something I'm really thankful for. So thank you for surprising me with this, Chris.
I know how much he meant to you. And hey, who would have thought 4 years ago when I started my career change, I would have a legendary CFL quarterback like Damon on my show, and Pinball Clements, who hugged me in Hamilton. And it's just been awesome. And I really am glad to be a part of this organization as a fan, season ticket holder for the first time, and doing some media work for the team as well. Hey, Nick, we're going to wrap this show up with our last segment, our CFL picks for week 17. And do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. I will go with Christina Costaville. I will not let her ride alone. I will pick the Toronto Argonauts to win at Winnipeg.
Okay.
Team away. I'm going to just go and let's go for it. If we lose, it is what it is, but let's just hope for an interesting game, which it could very well be with the roster changes. Saskatchewan at BC. I think Saskatchewan needs this win a bit more badly, so I will pick Saskatchewan. Montreal and Ottawa, I will pick Montreal, and I will pick Hamilton at hosting Calgary. I think they're starting to turn the corner a bit at home. So, Toronto, Saskatchewan, Montreal, Hamilton.
All right. As for myself, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with the hometown Bombers. Hopefully, it'll be a competitive game, but I got to go with Winnipeg. Hopefully, I'm wrong, Nick. I really hope I'm wrong. And then I've got BC over Saskatchewan, but I think Saskatchewan is going to play them really tough. I think it's going to be an exciting game. And then Montreal, Ottawa. Ottawa got their fourth win of the season. I'm happy for them. But I think the Alouettes really want to get that number 2 spot in the East and have home field in the East semifinals. So I got to go with the Alouettes to beat Ottawa. And then the final game on Saturday night from Tim Hortons Field. I got to go with the Tiger Cats over Calgary. I just think they're a better football club than Calgary. So, yeah, Winnipeg, BC, Montreal, and Hamilton to win this week. And we'll see. And by the way, if you want to follow Damian Allen's website, it is D9, that's D and the number 9, Allen.com as well. And he is on Twitter, and he's also on Instagram, and he's also on Facebook as well.
Yeah, it's going to be the Ottawa Montreal game is going to be pretty important because when we look at how it sets up for the East standings, so Montreal has a game in hand, or sorry, their game up. They have, I think, equal games left, but the Alouettes play the Red Blacks twice, and they play in Edmonton, and then they close off the season against the Tiger Cats. They host the Stamps this week. They're in Saskatchewan. They host the BC Lions, and then they play against Montreal. So Hamilton's played Ottawa twice and beat them. Montreal gets to play Ottawa twice still. So that you could argue is an advantage for Montreal, that Hamilton has a tougher schedule to go through as well, which is another reason which I think makes this loss to Toronto a little bit more significant for their year. But yeah, let's find out. We still got a lot of football left. Nothing is written in stone yet, except for the Argos clinching first in the East. So let's just have some fun and hope for some exciting games this week.
All right, and before we wrap this up, the Argo Bounce live audio show is on weekly on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta, the home of Southern Talk in sports. Shout out to Ryan O'Neill for having our show on his station in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter/X. And this show will also be on audio platforms after, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever podcasts are available on audio platforms. And thanks again to Damon Allen, CFL Hall of Fame quarterback, all-time Argo great, 4-time Grey Cup champion, 3-time Grey Cup MVP, and more importantly, a Hall of Fame person for coming on our show tonight. And thank you so much, Nick, for coming on. And I hope I surprised you with our guest tonight.
Yeah, it was a huge, really welcome surprise. If anybody is going to the PointsBet curling tournament on right now in Oakville, you will see me there on the Friday 4:30 and both of the all the weekend draws. So if any of you guys are going there, I'll see you there. Otherwise, take care and have a good week, and I will see you guys here on this talk show again. Or as always, you can chat with me directly or indirectly on CFL Talks on Twitter through at Nick Small 38, Nick _Small 38.
And if you want to follow the team, you can follow them at Argonauts.ca or the Canadian Football League at CFL.ca. Nick, have a great night, and look forward to seeing you as a fan on October 6th. We can have a beer and hopefully get some pictures with our the player that made us become fans. For me, it's Greer and Holloway and Cendric Mentor, and it's just so many guys there. So, Nick, I'm really looking forward to October 6th. But we're going to wrap this up. Again, thank you so much to Damon Allen for coming on and Nick for coming on. And we'll see you guys, everybody, next week for episode 12 of the Argo Bounce live audio show, again on WQEE 99.1 FM. And we're also looking for sponsors as well. Have a great evening, everybody, and enjoy the CFL games this weekend. And as always, on behalf of Nick Small and myself, thank you for watching and listening to the Argo Bounce live audio show. And go Argos.
Go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. courage you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the gray comes